Hi, all. Welcome to the Way Forward Talks with me, Amrita. And introducing the Way Forward. The Way Forward is a company where we are into career development and upskilling ourselves right from childhood to expert professionals. Today, celebrating National Startup Day. It's a wonderful feeling to welcome Miss Raina Khatri Tandon to the program. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for coming into the program.
Thank you so much, Anu Kanan, and thank you very much, TWF. I think you're doing awesome work. Thank you for
Thank
having me.
And we would like to hear about your startup, Right to Rise. It's a posh related startup,
Right.
if I'm not wrong.
I
Yes.
think India has been celebrating Startup Day of late for a very short while because even though we are the biggest hub of startups and ideations, we are the biggest hub of having innovation, we are the biggest hub. In fact, even when we look up MSME Forum, the first ever discovered objects were being made by creative Indians, and still they have never been recognized. So I am very humbled that you have invited me on today's day, that's Jan 16, the startup day, where every entrepreneur starts with an idea and goes up to putting it in implementation. A little bit about me and my startup. I am Dr. Raina Khatri Tandon, founder CEO Right to Rise and RKT Foundation. We are an ISO certified accreditation body, ISO 21001 17024, who believe that every person has the right to rise. In respects to that, the theme, if you look at our logo, it has all the care, nurturing with two hands, talking about bringing both genders on an equality or equalitably scaled place. We can never say that we meet equality on all sectors, but men, women, and all genders can be always given the opportunities that they request or that they deserve when they grow. In the vision of which, because we are a more policy structured and a setup based company which is working on trainings, certifications, compliance, and audit, we take care more on women and child rights. So everything that you see about women safety or children safety comes under this purview. If we have to look at women as an encompass goal, we are looking at some of the women empowerment programs, and the most important of that comes out to be POSH Act. So Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, which we specialize in, which is an act evolved in 2013. Then we have POXO Act, which is for all children from 0 to 18. We also take care of cyber safety. We are doing fraud awareness. We are also specializing into gender sensitization, cross-cultural sensitization, and biases, stereotypes, mindsets, focusing on development of women in consulting and many more. Yes, technology has always been our support. So we would always say that we are scaling online, offline, and through learning management systems. But our major areas are training, compliance, and specifically certifications into POSH and POXO. That's what we do at Right to Rise. Right to Rise has been leading in the last 4.5, 5 years. We have scaled up to almost close to 500 entrepreneurs, HR professionals across organizations, NGOs, startups, MSMEs, SMEs, and various other companies who are set up across not only India, but in the world. And we also provide support to Ministry of Women and Children and government organizations.
Great, great, ma'am. So it's a amazing effort you're putting in for the development of everyone. That's wonderful. Thank you so
Yes.
much for that interest into building up people. So I went
Great,
through
Amrita.
your profile, and it's really wonderful to see how core science person has moved towards human rights and posh and all those things you just mentioned. So how was your drive to travel from a core science background to this direction?
Very interesting question, Anu. I think in life, if you look at many people's journey cycle, you will always realize that the person who's done a particular background during his childhood uh, and educated in that is probably not doing something today in the same lines of profession. I don't know how that works, but that's the science of life, or that's how we all have been evolving, that we always have to adapt to the change. And change is constant, we say. When we say change is constant, that we have to, whether you like it or not, whether you want to or not, you have to evolve with the coming times, with the
Yes.
technology, with the people, with the IT, with everything that's moving around you. Otherwise, you become dormant, okay,
Correct.
and you don't want to be dormant all the time. So with me also something like this happened. Though I come from an IT background, I'm born and brought up in Chennai. I'm a North Indian who speaks 12 languages, and I'm also born and brought up in Chennai. Um, uh, Interestingly, my father asked me, "What do you really want to do?" when I was very young. And I said, I'd like to be an entrepreneur rather than being a business person, because they all come from business background. Having said that, there were two things that I wanted to break. One, being away from the normal person who I could have evolved from a business family. Two, I always knew that, there have been some people who have built their legendary business from start, and, they have been evolving. So I would like to be a unique person, known by my own identity rather being known by my father or my husband or my background or my society's backing, because a
Yes.
woman is
Yes.
always looking at her identity with either a husband or her father. And I didn't want to project that from day one, because it's all about what Rana can give out as a bigger purpose to the society and to people, and what
Correct.
she can do for herself as an individual growth. So
Mhm.
I said I would want to venture out into something which nobody else has done, and I was the first woman in my family who stepped into engineering.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
The second, probably you can call a breakthrough, is after I finished my electronic communication engineering through SRM, I did research under an IIT research professor. I did a lot of work with them, and then I evolved going abroad.
Mhm.
So again, in that, I think my family stepped back to me and said, do you want to do something which is in India and things? And I said, I'd like to do something not in the US. When everybody was hitting the US, I would like to go to the UK and specialize into something called VLSI chip design.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's something that was very unfamiliar, something that sounded alienating to my father, and said, what is that supposed to be? So I said it's all designing of circuits and hardware engineering, with having the backing of Xilinx or an FPGA software, coding it. And um, it was something very unique. It is something which is evolving all the time, because post that I did my masters and PhDs in AI and robotics, and a little bit on embedded design, uh, and the backing of chip design. But as time passed by, even though you have evolved from UK, you come back to India. India and UK have very different cultures.
Yes.
And when you come back, you have other things in your personal and professional lives which have to move on. That's getting over a responsibility of your parents, getting married, stationing out of your city into another city. So I did come back to Mumbai, and I traveled after that for almost more than 10 years out of India, where I stayed with my husband, uh, and life moved on. So when we went, I was always an entrepreneur. I evolved into IT, HR, business development. I did a lot of events for an event management company. I was also venturing out into being an educator through a ECCA course,
Mhm.
but I never found the love of what I was doing. It
Mhm.
was like I'm doing it because I need to do it. And I am somebody who is a people's person. I
Mhm.
always thought that if you are somebody, you need to have an idea to start with. For startups, it's very important that first you formulate an idea. So
Correct.
since the idea was very unclear, it was an exploration phase of, what all is there and what all capabilities I have. How do I need to learn? And I was always learning. I
Wow.
evolved in different setups to see, what is that I like first. Second, what could I do with the existing skills? And if I don't have a particular skill, to keep on learning it. Third, to come up with something that I would passionately want to give away, not only as a business, but also as an entity, not only as a personal brand, but also as a professional brand, because life is just not about talking. Life is just not about giving out your knowledge without any structure. Okay, because a lot of us in India, we feel that we're very good people who can talk, people who can give speeches, people who can give gyan, people who can give knowledge, coaches, we are trainers. We think that, it comes endlessly and flawlessly.
Yes.
But if it is not structured, all the gyan that you give is just going to go away in a few minutes.
Yes.
Nothing is going to stay forever.
Correct.
So we ventured out and, I got into training, coaching, mentoring. And finally, after some time, I had I would say the privilege of people approaching me. A lot of people were looking up to my work because I was into leadership training. I used to help key CEOs and companies to strategize and grow. And my major areas of work all across was doing leadership training, women trainings, and everything related to the women folk. So somewhere down the line, I think a lot of people gave me a little more clarity. I started thinking what would be my USPs. And while doing posh training, once, twice, thrice, I started encountering people who walked up to me and started seeking solutions. So that's when I, started learning about the posh, the pox. So I did numerous programs, not only nationally, but internationally through a lot of people from the legal background. I have a lot of legal advocates, Supreme Court, High Court judges who are now my mentors. And I've also gone back and done a legal professional qualification and done a PhD in human psychology and child rights, which gives a backing of whatever I carry as an expertise. Because it's not always about, one, people think that, everything that I know, I need to go and spit out. Two, if you are in a very sensitive profession like a legal profession, some sensitive profession like working with laws of women, children, we need to be very particular of what we say, how we say, and whether it is really aligning to the laws of the land or the rules and the rights of what we know as a book down in the Constitution of India or in the various IPC laws. So we have to be very clear about the knowledge that we provide, because once we speak about it, it becomes a rule that, so and so entity has probably spoken, let me follow it. And people go by just the expert most of the time. So we as experts also have a lot of responsibility, because like the Spider-Man and the Superman say, with equal power comes equal responsibility.
Yes.
So I think if you are not qualified, if you are not specialized, if you are not somebody who's taken the backing of an educational qualification in the specified field to a very high level of 10 to 12 years of experience, we should not be even calling ourselves as specialist. Otherwise, it's like just going out and giving knowledge which is not going to be helpful, yet could be dangerous for people out there.
Okay. Wonderful.
So this is some of the things that I wanted to share, and that's how Right to Rise evolved. Right to Rise was structured with a lot of thought process, from the logo to the idea to the concept, and why I am doing it, because we were there to provide solutions for individuals, for companies, for organizations, NGOs, trusts, even for the downtrodden people, for them to know what is safety, what are the laws, what are the rights that they need to carry, how do they need to approach if something happens to them, and what is the step-to-step compliance procedures and things which could open up for any organization.
Great. So I think I've got the right person for a startup day, because you have been helping startups throughout since your career, I think, throughout your career. And
Yes.
I can see the growth. The growth actually, comes in the knowledge, the way you talk, the clarity. That's so much visible in the way you speak, man. So that's wonderful.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you so much.
yes. And what are the three things you think a startup has to keep in mind, as you've been with startups so long? What are the three things they have to keep in mind from the beginning?
So that's a very pertinent question, because most startups start with something and then end up something, and then they say after a certain time that let's close down. Some of the very important things that a startup needs to understand is, from the point you start, it's just not about an idea, it's also about thinking what I know, what I have. So the mindset, the tool set, and the skill set. Also understanding the resources that you have at the moment. So if your resources like your money or your setup or the backing that you want to provide is not sufficient, then we have to move slow. We just can't be thinking, okay, we need to stride. You can't stride like a lion if you don't have that much grip over what you do.
Correct.
Only when you have grip can you run. So that when the speed is high, you can get control when you have to stop. Okay, it's like a car. If you don't have the brakes and you don't have the clutch, you just can't be accelerating all the time.
Correct.
Okay, so we need to understand what is our skill set and tool set along with the resources to first make a start. We will start with an idea, and that's something that is needless to say. Second, your audience and my audience is not the same. So anybody who's still in the same business will still not be having the same strategies, same planning, same structure, same implementation, because your life and my life, your business, my business is different. Our target audience is different. So structuring out your target audience and understanding that you will be talking only to this market is important. Studying your market and your target audience. Third, uh, startup people think I can do it all. I understand it's not a one-man show. You, from your idea, you must structure, you must have policies, you must have a setup in place, and you cannot operate alone. So the better point is that you are having a team in place. Whether you do it through networking and having your sales unit, like joining some forward networks that support you for the ecosystem and have a lesser kind of expenditure, or you kind of have your most trusted people like your friends, your family, people who are known to you, who are good in that, supporting you for some time till you are sustainable to get the right people in your framework. And then nurturing them is very important, because your company will only grow with people, outside, inside. Without people, you cannot grow. If you are not able to grow for some time, you can grow individually, but we cannot grow individually. You have to establish a structure. You should have a people. You should nurture these people, and people are going to be your strength. So these are the three things I would like to say.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So it's a complete answer. Great. So,
Yes.
coming back to Right to Rise, I think you've been working a lot into Posh, and your efforts are wonderful. So, how should a woman or a man actually with the situation be proactive in situations? How can they assess and work along and be proactive?
So I assume and understand that your question is that if something happens, what should we do? Or
Towards
are you
it's
saying
it's
that
moving towards a direction of being not so
safe?
positive for us. So how do we move along with that?
Okay, so let's take the situation. For example, we have a situation where something is not happened but yet to happen. Okay,
Hmm.
there are two people working in an organization. Because Posh is everything related to workplace, I always take workplace only as an
Yes.
example.
Yes.
So whether you're working in an office, or you're working at a site, or you're working at a plant, or you're working at a missionary unit, or you're working at a distillery unit, or you're working at a law firm or a hospital, either ways there is men and women, women and men. So
Yes.
sexual harassment doesn't happen only gender specific or age specific or woman specific. Let me tell that also. So if there are two situations when there are two people, one aggrieved and the respondent, aggrieved is the person who undergoes it and respondent is the person who does it.
Hmm.
So there are two people who are coming together, and the initial point of contact is when you are greeting, meeting, correlating, exchanging information and communication. Step one is that always when you are communicating with somebody is to understand who you are communicating it and what is the level of professionalism you carry. It is not about clothes, it is not about looks, it is not about what you wear or how you wear it, but it's how you carry it. So I'm not going to be very funny in saying only people who are wearing short skirts or people who are wearing minis or people who are very beautiful will get, or fair will get abused. Even person in a burqa can get abused, and there is no question over it.
Hmm.
So the first thing is, what do you communicate and how do you communicate? Not only with your mouth, but with your expressions, with your eyes, with the looks, with the clothes, with whatever you are carrying. So it's your entire structure. Communication is the key. Second, if there is something that you sense that the other person has got it wrong, then you stop it then and there. There is no question of introvert, extrovert here. Whether you're an introvert or extrovert, you need to still communicate. And every silence is not going to be taken as positive or negative. I mean, it may not be yes or no. It can be either ways. So the more clear you are, the more better it is. It's like saying prevention before cure. You have to stop it then and there and say, hey, this is something I do appreciate you're a good friend. I do appreciate you're a senior. I do appreciate you're a team member. I do appreciate you're a CEO of the company, but this kind of behavior is something not acceptable to me for any parties. Third, if something has happened, report it immediately, because you thinking over it, pondering over it, implementing over it, talking over it, having other people talk over it, discussing over it is not going to help. Yes, you need some time to contemplate, need some time to ponder over it, do it. Think about who do you want to confide in, who do you want to trust in, and go to the right sources and do it. What we do wrong is we tell the entire friend circle or family circle or a confidant, a person who you trust, could be anybody, but we really don't know what is their background, because not everything that shows in front is something that we don't know of.
Yes.
So
Yes.
better go to the right sources and tell them this is what has happened, so that they can take necessary action at the right time rather than it becoming too late.
Wonderful. Yes.
And ending it with a cherry on the cake, harassment or sexual harassment happens only with people who are known to you. Very rarely is somebody who doesn't know to you who comes up to you and does harassment to you. So you have to watch of what you are doing for it to happen also. It doesn't happen just out of the way. There has to be something that has gone wrong from both sides, and that's why it's occurred. Okay. Otherwise, all of us are quite mature and quite vigilant people. India is becoming more and more safer. The laws of the land have always been there. People who are supporting in the legal and the political system and the ecosystem, like the police, the hospitals, the professionals, the IPCs, the officers, and everything is already there since a very long time. But it's now about the citizens, how they are taking it ahead. It's no more about, always complaining कि police ने क्या किया, law ने क्या किया, court ने क्या किया. It's not about them all the time. They are the second step if you don't take the first step right.
Correct.
So they are doing their best. I'm sure the 20,000, 25,000 professionals are not equivalently going to be able to cater to a 1.5 billion crore
Yes.
turnover or 1.5 crore people strength that we carry in India today.
True.
So,
Wonderful.
yes.
Nice. So I think that was a very open-minded discussion, and the thing is that perspectives change. The
Yes.
perspective might be different, so we should be careful about that. And I think we need to be brave in any situation. Whatever comes in front of us, we should fight
Absolutely.
it. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Ma'am. Okay, so coming back to startups, and we have a lot of decisions to make. We have to be on our best foot always. So, what is the toughest decision or the hardest decision that you have had since you started Right to Rise?
Oh, that's a very, very interesting question. And I think every time when I'm sitting alone, I'm only thinking about, what have I done? What have I achieved? What is yet to achieve? Why am I not able to move in? What are the things that we make right and wrong? What are the decisions that we've done right or wrong? What are people expecting out of you? And what do you really want from life? And many more. I'm actually sharing it because these are questions that every entrepreneur and startup actually have in their mind. And
Yes.
sometimes we fall, sometimes we rise. It's not that we always rise. So decisions have always been very difficult, and they weigh you down if your options are wrong. Fortunately, if we are all successful, then our choices have been right. So it's just about choice that we make when we are at each point, and learn from them to move on. So one decision I can always think about is every startup will always have people coming and going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the most difficult thing is to let people go.
True.
For an entrepreneur or for a leader or for an owner or for a CEO or CFO or whatever co-founder you call, their startup is like their baby.
Correct.
And if you are a nurturer, if you're a mother or a father or even a child, you know what is the meaning of nurturer. आप उसको छोटे से सींचते रहते हो. You are watering it like a plant. You are putting water and giving it shape. You are
Correct.
building that little piece which is going to be with you for a lifetime, that this is a part of me.
Mm-hmm.
When you are nurturing that setup or startup and you have people with you, you always want the better of it. So whether you are going to do it in a negative way, in a positive way, like shout, scream, give love, give respect, laugh with them, cry with them, and build them, at one particular time, people are going to say, hey, my journey with you is over. I need to move on. But we
Yes.
as people feel that, we have actually grown them, we've given them the best, and they should be there with us for a lifetime. If they have to be with you for a lifetime, there has to be something that always needs to be nurturing with them. If they feel that they have a better solution, that means there's something that we need to rework in our systems and processes. But even if you're the bestest organization, you will still have people leaving. So you must understand that people will come and people will go, and not allow yourself to be bogged down that maybe there is something wrong. It's not about wrong, but that's the journey of life. That is an evolution of life, that people who come will go. So letting them go also very respectfully, very beautifully with a smile is important. So that's one thing I feel is a little difficult for any entrepreneur in any startup, because we feel that, we are doing our best to give the best. But even
Correct.
otherwise, this is yet to happen. So stride along, move along, and evolve along, because your journey to being the best will have many people to come and go.
Yes. They'll play their part and they will, help us rise it and then they will move on. So it's a
So
journey. Wonderful.
everybody deserves the right to rise. And that's why
Yes.
Right to Rise feels that, we have welcome people, we nurture them, we love them, we grow them, and then it's time for them to also move on.
Correct. Wonderful. Wonderful. So moving on. Women entrepreneurs are always, having a lot in mind, lot to process at home, at work, at, everywhere we have lot in mind. So over the years, what is that one skill that as a women entrepreneur specifically you have learned, which have with you always? That one learning.
Okay. Women have a lot of energy.
Correct.
Women have a lot of excitement. Women are always superpower networkers. Women are always energetic and bubbling. And they are very good in multitasking. But one thing that they need to learn is to give a pause in their life. Resilience, pause, and not doing anything is something women needs to understand, because she's always running, whether it's a personal life, whether it's a kids, whether it's a business, whether it's a setup, whether it's ideas, whether it is helping people, supporting people, nurturing people, multitasking, getting things done, everything she's very good. Okay, she's courageous, she's bold, she's risk taking, but one thing she needs to understand is to sometimes keep her mouth shut, stay still, give a pause in your life, and let some time pass for you to understand what's happening around you. So pause and resilience is something that we need to understand. It helps us to become a better individual, grow better, understand better, and focus better to what we want in life, rather than looking at what others want or expect from us. At the same time, do what other people are doing, which is not your vision.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So finally, I think it was a whole wholesome interview, starting from startups or Posh or women entrepreneurship. It has conveyed many directions and given a lot of beauty to this interview. Finally, coming to what is your you know wish or your advice to the startups and the founders out there?
If you go to my LinkedIn page, Raina Khatri Tandon, and
Hmm.
we have a Right to Rise page, which is for our company. My tagline is be you.
Wonderful.
Okay. So my only advice to startups is you don't need advice. You have your own directions. Keep your focus, keep your ideas, restructure your entire setup, have your systems in place, and just be yourself. Trust yourself no matter who comes and tells you that you may not make it. Think big, you will make it bigger. And you are yourself and the best person to decide on whatever comes to your life. Make the right choices. You will strive to rise. So I believe that every person in you has the right to rise. And if nobody is, at least we are with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think you've shown the way forward through the way forward talks. So I'm really happy, actually, Elena, ma'am, to have you. It's an honor to have you, actually, with your experience
Thank you
and your
so much.
knowledge and your energy. I just love the way you smile. So thank you so much for your time today, and wishing you a happy startup day.
Thank you very much, TWF, and thank you very much, Anu. I think this has been one of the most humbling experience being on this platform and contributing here to all the startups, and an equivalently esteemed honor for me to be here on TWF. Thank you for having me on this interview. Thank you. Have a
Thank you.
good day and wish you a startup day. Thank you.
Thank you.